I don't know if you've been enjoying the bounce off the lows for, I mean, all kinds of assets, Amazon, Nvidia, Bitcoin,
Yep.
but this is pretty much in line with the sort of things we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm still very bullish on Nvidia. I bought on the way down on that last retrace for Nvidia, so I managed to average in quite well in this last little move, and obviously the whole thing started to push up from here. So I'm looking to see Nvidia push past its all time high, and I'd like to see it go a little bit further than that. I've got what did I set my price target at? I'm thinking the last estimate, I've got it somewhere at the 157 to 161 range. So I'm hoping for a nice big push from here. I think the main thing that's contributing to it is really a lot of what Huang put out on his latest bullish view of just the future of AI. The estimates that they're making on an ROI perspective for server providers out there that can expect to launch the new Blackwell chips. The demand for Blackwell chips are incredibly high. Their supply chain issues are fairly well ameliorated, especially with the relationship with TSM or Taiwan Semiconductor. And in general, the biggest thing for me is the moat that NVIDIA has. There's just no competitor out there that has a chip that is application specific in this way that solves our specific generative AI problems. And it's serving the entire landscape of AI at the moment, even at the cloud infrastructure level. So I'm still very bullish on NVIDIA from here.
There have been claims here that I just find it, because I'm not in the hardware space at all. I don't have that type of understanding. There's some claims here that, I mean, we're not even halfway up to the price that Nvidia can get to, because the bearish case that I've been hearing, and let me know if you hear anything different, is that this is benefiting from the AI hype, and it's one of the only stocks that's clearly invested in clearly is a beneficiary of the AI bubble, or the AI momentum, and that as soon as something else comes into play, well, then we'll move to there. We'll move to software. We'll move to other players, and then the stock will fall. But that to me does not sound like a 2024 story at
No.
all. And there's plenty of runway between now and the end of the year. And
Mm-hmm.
if you'll remember, last year, the Santa Claus rally that just completely ripped some of these stocks to the upside because of this forced buying that happens at the end of the year, makes me think that there's no reason not to expect all time highs on Nvidia before the end of the year, and then some. What's your expectation before the end of December?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Maybe the thing that's kind of overlooked in terms of demand perspective for graphics cards to support AI initiatives is really at the private sector. There's a lot we don't see in terms of where this demand is coming from. We hear about the investments that are being made from a CapEx perspective across the public markets because we can see that. We hear that in investor calls. We hear that in earnings reports. But there's a whole massive private industry in America that is obviously increasing their demand for these types of graphics cards in cloud infrastructure. Right? They're heading to DigitalOcean, they're heading to Azure, they're heading to AWS, and requesting those types of servers to be spun up so that they can run models of their own. And again, NVIDIA is the obvious benefactor for that. As more and more of these or not digital, but cloud providers are expanding their infrastructure to include NVIDIA cards as part of their service, that demand is only going to grow. So I'm definitely a pretty bullish on it. I think the bear case for it is really not knowing entirely where the demand is going to come from in terms of magnitude, like how big that demand is. It could be smaller than we anticipate. And it is possible for NVIDIA to overinvest in their supply and maybe end up with some extra cards on the sideline. Doubtful to me, though. I just don't see a world in which NVIDIA has any trouble selling these cards and even using them as collateral in some way.
What makes me feel nervous about it, and maybe coming out of left field here, but whenever I hear these, I can accept a stock really taking off. I can accept that. But when there's this refocus on this sort of like legendary CEO of this company or legendary leader. I get very much Elizabeth Holmes sort of vibes.
Mm.
And then when I see that leader come out on stage with like uh, his story of how he started, and then how we're a different company and how we do things differently here. How I was always shunned for the way I was doing things in the past, and he's saying all this inside of a leather jacket that should really be on somebody 20 years younger. I think to myself, okay, I'm being sold something here. But then Elon does the same thing. So then I go, okay, I mean, it's just the style. So I'm not sure what to think there. But the thing that really makes me nervous is the tone of it. It feels so much like when a crypto coin launches, even if it's a legitimate crypto coin with new technology and innovation and staking and transfer or whatever it is. They go, okay, I hear the words for the technology and I go, okay, that sounds good. Those sounds like tech words. I like that. And then I see the number go up, and then I have no way to associate the price that I'm seeing with the tech words that I've heard. Do you get any misgivings at all that Nvidia specifically, aside from whether you think AI is worthwhile, that the price rise itself is 40%, 50% hype, or do you think no, we're really in fundamental territory and we're just starting?
Yeah, I think that that's in general how I tend to look at markets. I'm trying to look past the headlines in the news and some of the glitz and the hype around it, and just look at the actual demand, right? Like where what companies are demanding this technology, how many people are actually adopting it as part of their process. And in the past, when I've considered other industries as whether or not they're in a hype cycle or not, a lot of it has come from there being more focus on the promise of the future of something rather than what's practical today. And I think NVIDIA is one of those practical applications, right? They have a real solution to a real problem that has real demand behind it. And they happen to have the best product out there for that particular problem. These graphics cards are repeatedly used in these scenarios where if you need this type of processing power and the demand is great enough for it, suddenly the market for NVIDIA cards goes haywire, right? Like
Right.
when the cost of mining cryptocurrencies could be done through like the Ethereum blockchain, and you needed NVIDIA graphics cards for it, you went to NVIDIA because it was it had a faster hash rate than any other graphics card out there. So I think we find that solution, that same type of scenario playing out here, where AI is best served through this type of hardware technology, and NVIDIA happens to have the mode on it. So I think there's a comment here. He earned his leather jacket. I'm going to say that Huang actually earned his leather jacket.
That's right. Excellent. All right. So, would you give me a price target for what you think happens for Nvidia before the end of the year, or
Yeah, I
whatever time
mean,
frame you want?
from a technical perspective, I've effectively averaged into this recent retrace, which actually it went just a little bit past the 0618 retrace. So I would consider this the beginnings of a fib extension from here. So just from a technical perspective, if we pass that recent resistance zone around 133 and the all-time high around 140, I would expect us to start seeing some exhaustion around the 157 to 161 range. So we've got a ways to go. From here, there's another 33% potential upside, and roughly almost 50% return on my averaged investment on Nvidia. So I'll be excited from my perspective because I managed to catch that bottom.
Nice. Tell me what feels better, the gain or being right on a trade?
Both.
I speak as someone who's lost too much. Just being right, except for all the times I was wrong before. It feels 10 times better than any money that I gained.
No, obviously I'm not in the game to be right. I'm in the game to make money. If I'm not making money doing it, then I don't care about being right. Because
The thing
I
is, the
I
money.
could show you
Go ahead.
100 trades I would have been right on if I would have taken them.
Well, the money that we make, our wives spend, but being right, we own that. No one can take that away from us.
That is true, and that's why I get to manage the family funds. Peter reminds me to remind everybody this is not financial advice. I'm not being paid by Nvidia to make these statements, nor would I accept payment. Yes, I would accept payment.